SLT Mobitel, the connection. SLT Mobitel, the connection.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජු රුපියල් 50ට අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට එකක් බොමු.
Tonight, biting at the bit, Sri Lanka's ambassador to China says that Chinese businesses and tourists eager to reach Sri Lankan shores.
They all are very eager to come and participate in Sri Lanka's economy. I think there's a very good chance Chinese travelers will now be quite eager to come to a place like Sri Lanka.
Halfway there, student attendance recorded at 51% for today's long-awaited beginning of the first term. Peace trumps war. Jaffna University monument protests diffused after foundation stone laid for a peace memorial. 3 down. Water Supply Minister Vasudeva Nanayakkara becomes the third parliamentarian to contract COVID-19, with 31 more identified as possible new cases. All that and much more coming up on First at 9, this Monday, the 11th of January, 2021.
ඇල්කොහොල් අඩංගු hand sanitizer භාවිත කරන්න. ලෙඩ රෝග ඇති කරන විෂ බීජවලට එරෙහිව සටන් කරන්න. හඳුන්වා දීමේ මිල රුපියල් 350යි.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhammik Ekanai. The first school term of the year got underway today with an encouraging 51% overall student attendance. Secretary to the Ministry of Education, Professor Kapila Perera, said that teacher attendance was also high at 88%. 32 schools in the Eastern Province and 7 in Vaunia, however, did not start the new term.
The maiden school term of the year 2021 got underway today. It was, however, limited to grades 2 to 13. All schools in the Western Province where the coronavirus threat is greater were exempted, along with those located in areas presently under isolation. Despite the heavy rains, children in the North Central Province were diligent in attending school. In the meantime, a group of teachers who failed to observe social distancing was told off by the police. With today being the first day back at school in a while, health authorities took the opportunity to make certain schools aware on how to adhere to health guidelines. In Puttalam, parents moved to take their children out of school while it was in session owing to children from a group of COVID-19 positive employees at a factory in the area of Madura and Kulia being at the school. In the meantime, Governor of the Eastern Province Anuradha Yahampath said that 32 schools there did not open today due to a rapid spread of the virus. What's more, 7 prominent schools in Vaunia also did not open today over similar concerns.
පාසල් වලින් 95%කට වඩා විවෘත කිරීමට හැකියාව තියෙනවා. පාසල් ඉතාමත් ස්වල්ප සංඛ්‍යාවක් තමයි සෞඛ්‍ය හේතු නිසා ආරම්භ කිරීමට බැරි වෙලා තිබෙන්නේ. ජනවාරි 4 වෙනිදා අපි සියලුම පාසල් වලට ලැබෙන්න සැලසුවා මේ උපදේශ මාලාව. විස්තර සහිතව. ඒ නිසා හිතේ බයක් නැතුව ළමයින් පාසල් වලට එවීමට පුළුවන් කියලා දෙමාපියන්ට අපි ඉතාමත් පැහැදිලිව ඊයේ ඒක කිව්වා.
Meanwhile, Secretary to the Ministry of Education, Professor Kapila Perera, had this to say about today's school attendance.
51ක් දරුවෝ පැමිණිලා තිබුණා සමස්ත පළාත් 8ෙම ඒ වගේම ගුරුවරුන්ගේ සමස්ත ප්‍රතිශතය පැමිණීම 88%යි. අනිත් පළාත්වලත් විශේෂයෙන්ම හොඳ ප්‍රතිශතයක් තියෙන්නේ ශිෂ්‍යයන්ගේ පැමිණීම ගම්බද ප්‍රදේශවල තමයි වැඩියම දරුවෝ පැමිණලා තියෙන්නේ. මේ ලැබිච්ච අවස්ථාවෙන් ගොඩක් ප්‍රයෝජන ගන්න අපිට පාසල් ටික පවත්වාගෙන යාම සඳහා උදව් කරන්න මේ සාර්ථකත්වයේ මත තමයි රජය තීරණය කරන්න පුළුවන් බස්නාහිර පළාතේ පාසල් විවෘත කිරීම පිළිබඳව අධ්‍යාපනය ඔබේ දරුවා වෙනුවෙන් තමයි අධ්‍යාපන අමාත්‍යාංශය මේ කටයුතු සියල්ලම මේ විදිහට මහන්සි වෙලා ඉටු කරන්නේ.
Meanwhile, preschools were also opened in some areas of the island.
Now, Minister AdaDerana became the country's third parliamentarian to test positive for the coronavirus today. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister's coordinating secretary for political affairs, Kumarasiri Hettige, and Sri Lanka's ambassador to the United States, Ravinatha Arasinghe, have also been diagnosed with COVID-19. Meanwhile, police media spokesperson DIG Ajit Rohan warned that if members of the public from previously isolated areas continue to ignore health and safety guidelines, they can look forward to a longer spell under lockdown.
Minister of Water Supply Vasudeva Nanayakara became the third parliamentarian to test COVID-19 positive. The minister had reportedly attended parliamentary sittings from the 5th to the 8th this month and had also participated in an event held at the Water's Edge in Colombo on the 5th. What's more, the Prime Minister's coordinating secretary for political affairs, Kumarasiri Hettige, had also contracted the virus. The Parliament Sergeant at Arms Narendra Fernando said that 31 MPs in total have been identified as close contacts of COVID-19 positive members of Parliament Dayasiri Jayasekara, Rauf Hakim, Minister Vasudeva Nanayakara and the PM's coordinating secretary. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Health stated that 30 personnel of the Police Special Task Force deployed at the Presidential Secretariat too have been diagnosed with the coronavirus. Meanwhile, the ambassador of Sri Lanka to the United States, Ravinatha Arasinghe, has also tested positive for COVID-19. 4 other staff members of Sri Lanka's embassy in Washington, D.C. have also contracted the virus. The ambassador and other embassy staff members are reportedly under home quarantine at present. In the meantime, Sri Lanka have confirmed 568 fresh cases of the coronavirus so far today. The island, however, confirmed 543 COVID-19 infections yesterday. From that figure, 217 cases were reported from the Colombo district. The Gampa district reported 85 infections, with 40 confirmed from Ratnapura, 26 from Galle, 13 from Kandy, and 10 from Hambantota. A further 59 cases were recorded across 12 other districts. Meanwhile, 7 Sri Lankan returnees have also tested positive for COVID-19. As for the remaining 86 infected persons, their residence could not be confirmed. On a brighter note, there were 766 coronavirus recoveries confirmed during the course of the day. That raised the overall number of COVID-19 recoveries in the island to 42,091. This brings the total number of active COVID-19 cases down to 6,625. There were, however, 3 more deaths confirmed in the country yesterday. According to the Department of Government Information, the victims were 62, 64 and 80 years of age. All of the victims had died of COVID pneumonia. However, the 80-year-old had been a cancer patient, while the 64-year-old had an underlying heart condition. In the meantime, the state of isolation was lifted in certain police areas today, and police media spokesperson says that the sacrifices made by the people in those areas led to the move.
මේ වන විට හුදෙකලා කිරීමට අදාළව නිරෝධායන නියෝගය පොලිස් වසමක් ආශ්‍රිතව ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙන්නේ ලංකාවේ එකම එක පොලිස් බල ප්‍රදේශයක පමණයි. ඒ කාතන්කුඩි පොලිස් බල ප්‍රදේශය. ඒ හැරෙන්න මෙතෙක් කල කොළඹ නගරයේ විවිධ පොලිස් වසම් හුදෙකලා කර තිබුණා. නමුත් අද උදෑසන වන විට ඒ නියෝග සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම ඉවත් කර තිබෙනවා. අවසාන වශයෙන් හුදෙකලා නියෝගය ක්‍රියාත්මක වුණේ මාලිගාවත්ත දෙමටගොඩ සහ ග්‍රෑන්ඩ් පාස් පොලිස් ස්ථාන සහ එම වසම් ආශ්‍රිතව එම හුදෙකලා නියෝගය මේ වන විට ඉවත් කර තිබෙනවා. කෙසේ වෙතත් විශේෂයෙන්ම කොළඹ මධ්‍යම සහ උතුර ප්‍රදේශ ජනතාවට අපි දැනුම් දීමට කැමැති. ඒ හුදෙකලා බවින් ඉවත් කර තිබෙන්නේ ඔබගේ කැපකිරීම වල ප්‍රතිඵලයක් හැටියට. කෙසේ වෙතත් නැවත ඔබ සෞඛ්‍ය පුරුදු වලට අනුගත නොවි කටයුතු කළහොත් එවිට නැවත මේ ප්‍රදේශ හුදෙකලා කිරීමට සිදු වෙනවා.
Now, Sri Lanka's ambassador to Beijing, Dr. Palitha Kohana, says discussions have been held with Chinese vaccine developers Sinovac, where a detailed briefing session was held on the efficacy of the company's vaccine. With an efficacy rate of 75 to 80%, Ambassador Dr. Kohana says that the vaccines which have been widely used in the country, along with strict health and safety measures, have contributed to the firm grip the Chinese authorities currently have over the virus. Meanwhile, the Sri Lankan envoy also revealed that if Sri Lanka embarks on an effective promotional campaign and offers the right health and safety assurances, millions of Chinese tourists may just choose Sri Lanka as their next holiday destination once travel resumes.
Sri Lanka's ambassador to China, Dr. Palitha Kohana, says that Chinese vaccine supplier Sinovac told him that positive results have been experienced in several countries currently using the company's vaccine, and that the company has expressed confidence in its efficacy during briefings held recently.
We met with Sinopharm and Sinovac, both of whom have developed vaccine for COVID-19. Both companies were very confident about their product. Chinese people, especially those who are visiting different countries for business purposes, for diplomatic reasons, and others, are receiving these vaccinations. They have also been trialed in a number of countries in the Middle East, in Brazil, in Argentina, Indonesia, Malaysia, etc. And the results appear to be very positive. What we have done is simply obtain briefings from them on what they have developed, what they have tried, where they have trialed product, their success rate, and their expectations for the future. It could appear that most of their product would be used by China itself.
Further, Dr. Kohana added that with an effectiveness of 75 to 80% and a combination of strict health and safety measures, the Sinovac vaccine has contributed to the stable control the Chinese government currently has over the pandemic.
At least in the case of Sinovac, you are required to get 2 jabs, not 1. And it could appear that, according to their own statements, that you need to repeat the injections in about 4 to 5 months. So it's not a permanent vaccination. It needs to be repeated after a while. But there is a high degree of confidence in this country about the efficacy of the vaccine developed here. And China is one of those countries where the epidemic is very effectively controlled. The vaccines may have contributed, but in addition to that, they also have implemented very strict measures with regard to social distancing, wearing masks, testing and tracing, etc. Sinovac has indicated to us that their vaccination is 70 to 80% effective. So they say that 20% of those who receive vaccination are likely to be reinfected, but the infection would be much milder than in the case of those who have not received the vaccination. Sinopharm has not given us an elaborate briefing at this stage. We propose to meet them sometime next week.
Ambassador Dr. Kohana also revealed that several large state-owned companies have expressed eagerness to invest in Sri Lanka, especially in the tourism sector, and that Sri Lanka stands in a unique position to benefit from millions of eager Chinese travelers if the country displays effective control over the virus.
A number of very large companies, state-owned enterprises, in fact, have come to see me over the last 10 or 11 days, and they all are very eager to come and participate in Sri Lanka's economy. Some have expressed interest in investing here, others have expressed interest in trading, and of course, 2 or 3 companies have expressed very keen interest in participating in Sri Lanka's tourism industry once we open our airport. The impression I get is that there is a huge pent-up go somewhere amongst a certain part of the population, and that part may exceed millions and millions. And I think if Sri Lanka does manage its promotion work adequately, we stand to gain considerably. We need to emphasize the fact that we have controlled the infection very successfully compared to many other countries. Our testing and tracing procedures are effective. So given these factors, I think there's a very good chance Chinese traveler will now be quite eager to come to a place like Sri Lanka.
The Department of Railways has decided to reintroduce the temporarily cancelled train journeys to the daily schedule. Issuing a media communique, the General Manager of Railways stated that the decision was taken considering the relaxed coronavirus travel restrictions and increased number of commuters. Protests over the demolition of the unauthorised Mullawaikal War Monument at the University of Jaffna launched last Friday were called off today. This was following discussions between Jaffna University Vice-Chancellor Professor Sivakolundesri Satgunaraja and students who launched a fast unto death that resulted in an agreement to construct a peace memorial instead of one that commemorates war.
The demolition of the controversial Mullivaikal War Monument at the Jaffna University 3 days ago led to significant unrest at the campus in the past few days. A group of university students even resorted to a fast unto death over the past 2 days, demanding the immediate reconstruction of the monument. The protests also escalated into Hartal action, with shops in the northern and eastern provinces closed in support of the protests. The action had been launched at the behest of Tamil political parties and the Students' Union of the Jaffna University. Authorities later deployed military and STF personnel in addition to the Kope police to maintain order. However, the situation was diffused today after Vice-Chancellor of the Jaffna University, Professor Sivakorundu Sri Satkunaraja, laid the foundation stone for a new memorial. Professor Sri Satkunaraja revealed that following discussions with the students engaged in the fast unto death, an agreement was reached to replace the war memorial with a new peace memorial instead. Following this, the students ended their hunger strike and the protests were called off. The Mullivaikal monument was erected by students of the Jaffna University on the campus in 2018 to commemorate the Tamil civilians who died in the civil war.
ඕනෑම නිර්මාණයක් විශ්වවිද්‍යාලයක ප්‍රදර්ශනය කරනවා නම් ඒ සඳහා විශ්වවිද්‍යාලයේ අනුමැතිය ලබාගත යුතුයි. දැන් මේ අදාළ ස්මාරකය සම්බන්ධයෙන් ඒ විදිහේ අනුමැතියක් කිසිසේත් ලබාගෙන තිබුණේ නැහැ. ඒ හේතුව නිසා පමණයි යාපන විශ්වවිද්‍යාලයේ බලධාරීන් තීරණය කළා තිබුණේ මේ ස්මාරකය ඉවත් කිරීමට. කිසිම දේශපාලන සාධකයක් නැහැ. කිසිසේත් නැහැ. විශේෂයෙන්ම බොරදියේ මාළුමාන පුද්ගලයන්ට එවැනි උත්සාහයක් දරන පුද්ගලයන්ට මේකෙන් කිසිසේත් අපි අවස්ථාවක් සපයා දෙන්න හොඳ නැහැ. ඒ නිසා යාපන විශ්වවිද්‍යාලයේ උපකුලපතිතුමා ද උදෑසන යාපන විශ්වවිද්‍යාලයේ ශිෂ්‍යයන් සමග සුහද සාකච්ඡාවක් පවත්වලා තිබෙනවා. ඒ සාකච්ඡාව සාර්ථකයි.
The newly appointed High Commissioner of Bangladesh, Tariq Mohammed Ariful Islam, presented his credentials to President Gotabaya Rajapaksa at the Presidential Secretariat today. During discussions held after the ceremony, President Gotabaya highlighted the current economic situation in the country and the steps taken by the government to maintain control over the COVID-19 pandemic. The President also drew attention to the potential for further enhancement of maritime cooperation among the two Indian Ocean nations and added that Sri Lanka would prioritise such areas. The President also told the Bangladesh envoy that his aim was to enhance bilateral relations with regional states, including Bangladesh, in specifically identified areas as much as possible. Now, the 71st anniversary celebrations of Thurston College, Colombo were held at the college premises this morning under the patronage of Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa. Coinciding with the anniversary, the Prime Minister also declared open the school's oldest building that was recently renovated under a project conceptualized by the school's principal. With that, new smart classrooms too were declared open by the Prime Minister. Further, state-of-the-art equipment worth over 10 million rupees were also donated for the use in the classrooms. The equipment was donated to the school by the Chinese ambassador to Sri Lanka, Kizin Hong. Meanwhile, the green light has been given to a proposal to exempt the film industry from entertainment tax for a period of 2 years. The decision was also taken by the Prime Minister following a request by film industry representatives. Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa is critical of the government, saying that it lacks empathy. Once more, he also accuses the government of lacking an economic program with a clear goal, while also pointing the finger, at its handling of the pandemic.
The leader of the opposition, Sajith Premadasa, met with brass industrialists in the area of Pilamatalawa in Kandy yesterday and discussed their issues.
අපි පිළිගන්නවා COVID-19 ලොකු අභියෝගයක්. නමුත් COVID-19 අභියෝගයක් උණයි කියලා අපිට කියන්න බෑ. COVID නිසා රට අකර්මණ්‍ය උණයි කියලා. තායිවානයේ, නවසීලන්තයේ COVID තත්ත්වය මනා ලෙස කළමනාකරණය කරපු නිසා ඒ වැටිලා තිබුණු ප්‍රපාතයෙන් ගොඩ එන්නට ඒ රටවල් වලට හැකියාව ලැබුණා. දැන් ඒ රටවල් වල ආර්ථිකය යම් මට්ටමකට ශක්තිමත් වෙමින් පවතිනවා. අපේ රටේ එන්නෙන්නම ආර්ථිකය දුර්වලයි. මොකද මේකට හේතුව? පැහැදිලි ඉලක්කයක් සහිත ආර්ථික ගමනක් නොමැති වෙයි. හැම අතකින්ම බොහොම දුර්වල මට්ටමකට ඇද වැටලා තියෙනවා. සැලැස්මක් නැහැ. වැඩපිළිවෙලක් නැහැ. 69 ලක්ෂයක් අරගෙන ජනාධිපතිවරණේ 68 ලක්ෂයක් අරගෙන මහමැතිවරණේ මෙහෙම කරන එක කනගාටුදායක තත්ත්වයක් නේද? නිකමටවත් ආණ්ඩුවට හිතෙන්නේ නැද්ද අනේ අපේ රටේ ජනතාවට පව් කියලා? මිත්‍රවරුනි, අද රට පාලනය කරන්නේ හිතක් පපුවක් නැති ආණ්ඩුවක්.
Now, the Department of Meteorology warns that heavy showers of around 100 millimeters can be expected in the northern and eastern areas of the country within the next 24 hours. With that, Deputy Director of the Disaster Management Centre, Pradeep Kodipili, urges the public in those areas and in the hill country to remain vigilant of flooding and signs of landslides. The public are urged to contact the centre for any inquiries on its hotline 117.
Various areas in the island have been experiencing rain since yesterday, with some low-lying areas also inundated. What's more, authorities were forced to open the spill gates of many of the major reservoirs. With the spill gates of the Konduvatuana reservoir in Ampara being open since last night, low-lying areas including public roads were inundated. In the meantime, the Disaster Management Centre urges people in low-lying areas to be vigilant owing to the prevailing rainy conditions.
The people who are living in the mountainous and hilly area has to be well vigilant with the signs of the landslides. So slanting trees and the cracks of the ground and the sudden muddy springs has to be well observed by the communities who are prone to the landslides, which are identified by the National Building and Research Organisation. With the opening of the sluice gates of the Rajanga Reservoir, the Irrigation Department is advising people who are living at the Karula Gaswawa, Wanathavilwa areas has to be well vigilant with the upcoming flood situations. So all the resources and the equipments and the troops and everything's been ready with the help of Triforces and police at the ground level. The Disaster Management Centre is functioning 24/7 with the 117 call center facility as well. The people are advised to call with any disaster situation in 24/7 basis time.
The Central Hills meanwhile were not spared, and some areas there also experienced heavy rains. With the intensity of waterways increasing with the deluge, considerable amounts of garbage had made it into the Victoria Reservoir via the river Mahavali. Unfortunately, this is a common occurrence during rainy season due to the unsystematic waste disposal by the people. The country will have to brace itself for more rains, with the Department of Meteorology saying that thunder showers are likely to take place in most parts of the island within the next 24 hours.
Normally, southerly weather over most parts of the island is expected to continue further. Showers or thunder showers will occur in most parts of the island. We are expecting heavy showers, about 100 millimeters can be expected at some places in northern, eastern, north center, northwestern and central province. Fairly heavy showers, about 75 millimeters can be expected at some places elsewhere. Wind speed can increase up to 40 to 50 kilometers per hour at times over northern and north central provinces. Normally, we are given some precaution. General public minimize the damages caused by temporarily localized strong winds and lightning during thunder showers. Showers or thunder showers will occur over sea area around the island. Heavy showers can be expected at some places in the sea area, extending from Putland to Vatico via Trincomalee.
Now, the Ministry of Justice has decided to recruit 150 lawyers to the police department as chief inspectors. The decision was taken following a request by Justice Minister Ali Sabri to President Gotabaya Rajapaksa in order to further streamline the legal services offered by the Sri Lanka Police. Interviews are to be conducted after the Ministry of Justice gives the police department the green light to do so. The police department says that such officers will be eligible for promotions on personal performance. Following their recruitment, the chief inspectors will be deployed for service covering the 9 provinces. Further, special training on legal and police procedures is to be conducted by the Attorney General's Department. The Justice Ministry stated that Tamil language proficiency will be considered an added advantage during the recruitment. Now, in other local stories, the Attorney General's Department today informed the Batticaloa High Court that it will not continue with the case against MP Sivanesature Chandrakanthan alias Pillayan regarding the murder of former TNA MP Joseph Pararajasingham. 6 defendants, including Pillayan, have been charged over the murder, while 5 of them appeared before the court today. The High Court judge stated that his decision on the request of the Attorney General's Department would be delivered next Wednesday. The leader of Tamil Makkal Viduthalai Pulihal, Pillayan, was granted bail by the court on the 24th of November last year after spending 5 years in remand custody. Pillayan had been in remand custody since his arrest on the 11th of October 2015, when he arrived at the CID to give a statement in connection with the assassination of the late Tamil politician Joseph Pararajasingham, who was shot dead on Christmas Eve in 2005. Pillayan entered Parliament after securing the highest number of votes from the Batticaloa district during last year's general election. Welcome back. This is First at 9. Now, 3 finance companies have been fined by the Central Bank's Financial Intelligence Unit, mainly for violating financial institutions' customer due diligence rules in relation to sanctions screening. Now, the Financial Intelligence Unit, as the regulator for anti-money laundering and countering the financing of terrorism in the country, has imposed penal ties amounting to 2.3 million rupees in total for the time period from the 1st of June 2020 to the 31st of December 2020. As such, Richard Peris Finance Limited had been fined 300,000 rupees on the 15th of October 2020, while SoftLogic Finance PLC had been fined 1 million rupees on the 4th of November last year. Siapatha Finance PLC, meanwhile, had also been fined 1 million rupees on the 25th of November last year. The central bank said that the Monetary Board decided to publish the penalties imposed on the financial institutions by the FIU in order to improve the anti-money laundering and countering the financing of terrorism compliance level in the country. Now, taking a look at the Colombo Bourse, shares closed higher for a 10th straight session, with the benchmark all-share price index up 1.18% at 7,203.63, while the S&P SL 20 index of more liquid stocks gained 31.53 points to close at 2,736.40. Market turnover was 7.7 billion rupees. Now, here's Dimantha Matthew with a brief market report.
The market's bull run is going on at a massive pace, with today also the ASPI surging by about 84 points during the day. So the ASPI has now crossed the 7,200 mark to end at 7,203 points, while the S&P SL 20 was also up by about 26 points to end at 2,730 points. So what we can see is a significant buying interest emerging in the market, specifically focusing on 2 main shares. So there's heavy retail participation that is coming into these shares. Today we saw turnover levels around the range of 7.7 billion rupees, a very high level of turnover, and the number of transactions are also high in the range of 38,000 transactions.
And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.